Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Rangers lose in overtime to the Anaheim Ducks by a score of 5-4. And look, this team is clearly not a playoff team. We've said that ad nauseum, and it's another example of a game that they could have easily just gotten the 2 points without much of a problem, and they find a way to lose. And it's one of those things where this is a game that Anaheim wins. The Rangers haven't won all season. The Rangers have not won a game when trailing by 2 goals, and Anaheim finds a way to do it when they're down by 2 goals with less than 6 minutes left. And the Rangers had power play opportunities to totally put this game away and absolutely could not do it. And it just, again, it speaks a lot to where this team is. Um, Really, for me, Peter Laviolette, I'd be surprised if he's back next season. It's not all on him, but he is a big part of it. This is a very disconnected team at the moment, and um, the only reason why they have any chance is because of the competition that lays ahead of them for that 8th and final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. And what's interesting is you see Columbus within all of this. Columbus wins a very inspired game where they were down 3-0 in the first period, where they were down 2 goals in the third period. It was a late comeback, and they're able to win. Like, you just don't see that type of play from the Rangers, right? It's one thing, look, it's bad enough to lose to Anaheim, but it would have been one thing if it's like, all right, like the 1 point was a game in which they were down by 2 and tied it up and lost in overtime. It wouldn't have been great, but at least you could say, all right, there was fight there. Anaheim was trying to just easily hand this game to the Rangers, and they would not take it. So the Rangers do score 1 power play goal, but not nearly good enough. They were 1 for 7. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. And again, a 5-on-3 stretch in the third period, up by 2 goals. And there was another power play. So basically what happens is that the Rangers give up a shorthanded goal in the first period. And then after their final power play expires with a little less than 2 minutes left in the game, Anaheim scores. So essentially the Rangers really gave up basically 2 shorthanded goals. Completely inexcusable. This is really one of the hardest Ranger teams to embrace and to like. It just really isn't a likable team. And I know that there's different levels of bad, and it's not that this team's the worst Ranger team I've seen. I believe me, I've seen way worse. And I think collectively of Ranger fans, we've seen way worse. But again, it's just very, very disheartening. You now go into the San Jose game tomorrow. Again, the games are still meaningful with 9 games to go. Again, based on the competition, but this is not a team that deserves to make the playoffs. I mean, there's just no 2 ways around it, you know? And I think that you can make that same case for the other teams, right? Montreal, Columbus, the Islanders. I think all of those fan bases may, in some different form, say the same thing. But the Rangers, I think, take the cake for it because they had the highest expectations and just the way that they play. I mean, if you watched other NHL games, the Rangers have a distinct style that is just not one that is to be proud of. And Igor Shesterkin is just really, really in a tough spot regularly. And look, like in this game, obviously, when you allow 5 goals, you're going to take some of the blame for it. But Igor was very good for a while in this game. And in some ways, you could argue they got a point because of him, but also, I'd say, goals 4 and 5, maybe not the best. But at the same time, it's like he's the only one that really is trying to will this team to the playoffs. Um, so I guess in terms of the lineup, a couple of changes, and I'm not surprised. Urho Vakanainen in the lineup, but for Zach Jones. In my opinion, it should be for Carson Soucy. Um, I'm not surprised it's for Zach Jones. I think he was overdue for a healthy scratch. Not that he was playing amazing, but Carson Soucy, I just don't see it with him. I would be surprised. Let's say he's on the roster next year, that all of a sudden there's this turnaround. Crazier things have happened, but I'm not impressed by him and watching him. But all that said, Vakanainen was back in. And I understand that. And look, I thought Vakanainen, who didn't really play much in this game, I thought he was fine. Like, I tend to think that he is one of your top 6 defensemen on this team. But for me, it would probably be for Carson Soucy. But really, honestly, the defenseman that I think was noticeably made the most egregious mistakes was Keandre Miller. And look, there was some good there as well in the first period. I thought Keandre Miller made a couple of good plays that led to goals. but also made some bad plays that led to goals in the Rangers net. And so for me, he's one of those guys that I think push comes to shove, I would not mind him being gone in the offseason. I think he's one of those. I don't think that he is a winning player. That's kind of the conclusion that I've come to. There's a lot of skill there. There's a lot of theoretical upside. But in terms of if I need someone to do the right things, the little things to win me games, I don't think Keandre Miller is the player that I want. As far as the forwards were concerned, it came out that Matt Rempe is week to week with an upper body injury. He got hurt in the Kings game. Don't know if it was in that fight. Not exactly sure when it occurred, but he's going to be out for a little bit. Don't think for the rest of the season, but there's really not that much more to go. So it is possible that he is. We'll see. And so Sam Carrick returns. He was out of the lineup. He went home to be with his wife for the birth of their child. So he's back. And Yusuf Parson out, Brett Berard in. So the fourth line was Brett Berard, Sam Carrick, and Nicholas Obey-Kubel. Not a great fourth line, but it's kind of where the Rangers are at right now. And then there was one switch in with the forward units, and that was they switched Cooley with Brodzinski. So it was JT Miller centering Lafreniere and Will Cooley, and Mika Zibanejad centering Chris Kreider and Johnny Brodzinski. And to me, that's really more of the third line. But again, it was really the power play that was just really, really bad, even when they scored a goal. To me, I look at this game and say that was a major reason. You have a 5-on-3 for basically over a minute and a half, up by 2 goals. Anaheim was ready to lose that game. That's the sad thing. And look, Anaheim, to me, they do seem like a team that is on the rise, which isn't saying much. They missed the playoffs year after year after year. I think maybe the last 8 years they haven't made it. But Anaheim, they're getting better. They do have some offensive firepower, but just ridiculous. And I haven't mentioned yet, this was the first game against Jacob Trouba, who did leave the game in the third period due to injury. So he actually didn't play the whole game. Ended up only playing less than 16 minutes, which usually with the Rangers and with Anaheim is really more close to 20 minutes. So he was out, had exited the game again due to injury. But let's just get into this one. And again, it's frustrating. And the ironic thing is the Rangers get a point, and so they do kind of remain in the mix. But it's just, I have a very hard time believing this team's going to get into the playoffs, and they don't deserve it at all. It would be one of the least deserving teams to make the playoffs that I can remember. Obviously, I'm very attuned to this Ranger team, so it's not a fair statement, but it's like it may only take 87, 88 points to make the playoffs. That in and of itself is less than what you're used to. Normally it takes at least 90 points. Sometimes it takes like mid 90s to get in. So Igor Shesterkin making what I believe was his 8th straight start. And to be honest, I'm going to say it right now, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, especially coming off this loss, even if it didn't win, I think Igor might play again against San Jose. Jonathan Quick, if there was one game for Quick to play, it would be versus the Sharks, but how can you take that chance when you are, it doesn't feel like it, but when you are in a playoff race to this level, you kind of have to ride Igor almost the entire way. And so that would be my guess. But again, if there was one game that they went with Quick, I suppose it would be versus San Jose. Igor Shesterkin versus Lucas Dostal. Those are the goaltenders in this game. And it was a game that Anaheim really got the better of the Rangers in the first period. However, on the scoreboard, it was different. And Adam Fox at 320 scores his 7th goal of the season from Panarin and Keandre Miller. Miller makes a pass to Panarin in about the neutral zone. And Panarin takes it in, makes a few moves, and Panarin takes a shot that goes wide of the net, and it takes a nice bounce to Adam Fox, who a pretty nifty goal by him, a backhand goal where he roofs it in to give the Rangers a 1-0 lead. Again, kind of against the play because Anaheim was controlling at that point. And I should have mentioned before that at the 54-second mark, the Rangers just killed off a penalty. Will Borgen was called for high sticking Harkins after they missed Borgen getting tripped. So the Rangers kind of got the war out of that deal. The Borgen penalty was deserved. It was high sticking, but the Rangers probably should have been a power play. Not that it would have meant anything. But the Rangers do kill it off, and then they score. And then later on, at 15:21, former Ranger Frank Vetrano trips Keandre Miller. And what happens? the Ducks score short end of goal. Alex Killorn scores his 18th goal from Carlson, Lucas Carlson, at 16:55. Um, and it was against the second unit. And really, I mean, a couple of people deserve blame. I'd say mostly Keandre Miller. Lafreniere didn't do a great job as far as keeping Carlson in front of him. JT Miller, I thought, could have been a little bit quicker getting back. Killorn takes a shot. Igor makes the initial save, and then Killorn gets the rebound in to tie it up at one. So again, just not only is the power play not scoring, but they're giving up a shortened goal. Just absolutely brutal and unacceptable. However, again, to me, against the flow of play where Anaheim was dominating, JT Miller scores his 19th goal of the season from Cooley and Lafreniere. So give Kendrick Miller a little bit of credit in this first period for kind of contributing to the goals offensively as far as what he did to kind of get the puck up ice. And then you get Lafreniere with the pass. Cooley takes that and passes it over to JT Miller. And Cooley took a hit from, I believe, Radko Gudas. And it was a pretty nice goal where JT Miller scores backhand as well with some elevation to give the Rangers a 2-1 lead. So they didn't necessarily deserve it. We've seen worse first periods in the Rangers, but Anaheim was the better team. However, the Rangers take a 2-1 lead. To make things even better for the Rangers, at the 14-second mark of the second period, Alexis Lafreniere scores his 16th goal from JT Miller. And this is a play where former Ranger Ryan Strome turns the puck over in his own zone. JT Miller kind of causes that, makes a quick pass to Lafreniere, and a very nice goal for Alexis Lafreniere, past Dostal, to give the Rangers a 3-1 lead. The second period was pretty well played by the Rangers, certainly better than the first period. There were some penalties taken, Carson Soucy being one of them at 11:48, cross-checks Frank Petrano. Again, I am not a fan of Carson Soucy at all. However, at 12:10, Trevor Zegras interferes with JT Miller, so you get a lot of 4-on-4 action. However, before the Soucy penalty ends, and towards the end of the Zegers penalty, Vakanainen holds Jackson Lacombe on a play where Lacombe takes it towards the net, going towards Shesterkin. Vakanainen takes him down. So Anaheim goes back on the power play, and then at 15:12, before the Vakanainen penalty ends, JT Miller's called for delay of game. All in all, the Rangers killed it all off. So a nice job on the PK by the Rangers, which again, I continue to say, the Rangers penalty kill has been probably, to me, the most consistent, best part of the team all season. And they do a good job again. Granted, they did give up 2 goals against the Kings. You have to acknowledge that. But overall, just watching them, they've done a nice job. So it's 3-1 Rangers going to the third. And that in and of itself, you'd like to think would have been enough. It absolutely wasn't, but it takes this third period takes so many twists and turns. The Ducks took penalty after penalty after penalty. In fact, they took 5 of them. The first one being Ryan Strome slashing Braden Schneider at 4:05. And on this first power play of the third, the Rangers actually do score. And it's Mika Zibanejad. Oh, sorry, jumping the gun again. And I apologize. I said Lucas Carlson before. Leo Carlson. Leo Carlson at 2:22 of the third scores his 19th goal of the season from Zellweger and Zegras. And, again, it's a situation where the Rangers could never get that 3-goal lead. And the Rangers have a tough time in terms of defending the rush. And Carlson kind of just makes a few moves around Keandre Miller with some speed going into the Rangers zone. And he's able to score past Shesterkin. There was a line change by the Rangers, but there's no excuse for this. The gap control was not great by Keandre. Borgen might have presented a little bit of a screen, and Carlson scores to make it 3-2. Then, like I said, the Rangers get that power play on the Strome penalty and take advantage of it. So as a quick response for the Rangers, Zibanejad his 16th goal of the season from Fox and Panarin. And a very nice pass by Adam Fox to an open Zibanejad. Kind of a goal that maybe we saw in years past, where Zibanejad on the left side with a one-time slap shot scores pretty easily to make it 4-2. Then, at 4:56, Troy Terry trips Will Borgen. Then at 5:20, there's too many men on the ice. So you're getting a power play for about a minute and a half, and they do not score. And on the 5-on-4, I believe it was the power play we saw last game with no JT Miller. On the 5-on-3, I believe it was JT Miller and no Chris Kreider. Either way, they do not score. And that hurts right there. So granted, you are still up by 2. But if you could have gotten that goal to go up 3, as much as the Rangers have shown choke ability, you're probably winning this game. And they are unable to score. Then, Another power play for the Rangers at 11:58, Zellweger delay a game, and they don't score on that one either. And so, you know what? Honestly, it's almost like as if there were 3 shorthanded goals when you look at the time where they literally scored a shorthanded goal early in the game, and then there was 2 goals by Anaheim after expired Ranger power plays. This one comes, again, after the Rangers don't score on that penalty from Zellweger, delay a game. It would be Carter Gauthier, his 15th goal of the season from Carlson and Lacombe at 14-12, and it was another play that was made, on the rush and a bad turnover by Johnny Brodzinski. Borgen to Brodzinski, turnover by Brodzinski, and it's a transition play for the Anaheim Ducks, and they go with speed into the Rangers zone, kind of a carbon copy of the goal previous with Keandre Miller and Borgen back. And it's an initial save by Shesterkin on the shot by Carlson, then Gauthier gets the rebound in pretty easily. Keandre Miller was late to Gauthier, and he's able to get that in. Those are goals that cannot happen in that part of the game. So it makes it 4-3. But then the Rangers miraculously get their 5th straight power play. Radko Gudas interferes with Brennan Othman at 16:06. So the Rangers are up by 1 with a power play with 4 minutes left. Not only do they not score on this power play, but Anaheim then goes down and just really bad hockey IQ by Alexis Lafreniere for him to kind of rim it around. You want to keep possession. There's less than 2 minutes in the game. Find a way to grind in the offensive zone. Instead, he gives the puck up to Anaheim. And what do they do? What do they do? They go down and score to tie this game up. And again, it was the Keandre Miller Woolborgen pair on the ice, but you know what? There wasn't much they could do in this one. It was a 4-on-2 play. How are you allowing a 4-on-2 up by 1 with that amount of time left in the game? And so it ends up being a goal by Zellweger at 18:15, his 6th of the season, to tie this game up at 4. And so we go to overtime. So the Rangers get a point, not feeling good about it, but the Rangers lose the initial faceoff and they never see the puck again. And the combination was Trocheck, Panarin, and Fox. And again, as far as defensively, specifically Panarin, but a little bit of Trocheck as well, that's not a good defensive combination. It's just not. I know Vincent Trocheck is a penalty killer. I know that he, is a good two-way player. It's more Panarin, but it's both of them. Just terrible. And Igor was extremely aggressive. For whatever the reason, Igor was really not looking great and not in position. And it was a nice play from Gauthier to Lacombe to Mason McTavish in front, where Panarin left McTavish wide open to get the game-winning goal. Mason McTavish's 20th goal of the season from Lacombe and Gauthier at the 59-second mark of overtime. So the Rangers are now 2-7 on the 3-on-3. I mean, that is terrible for a team that kind of considers themselves the skill team, which honestly is becoming extremely overrated. Like the Rangers consider this finesse talented team. There's a lot more talent out there than the Rangers have. They really think that they're more than they are. 2-7 on the 3-on-3. That is really, really bad. When you need these points, I understand in the grand scheme of things, the 3-on-3 is not that important, but in terms of like what it would mean in the playoffs, which the Rangers are trying their damnedest not to get into, but just awful. To lose this way, the Rangers have so many more losses in this fashion than they do wins, and it's another loss when I mean, this is one of the worst losses of the year, and there's been a lot of them, but this is up there. Wherever you want to rank it, and I know the Rangers got a point out of it, and that does mean something, but just completely disappointing what this team is doing. It's awful to me. Peter Laviolette has got to go in the offseason. I mean, I don't even know where to begin, but the Rangers really need to be a much different looking team come next season. This is very, very bad. And so 9 games to go. Hard to be optimistic. Uh, we may not see a 3-game winning streak again this season, which would be highly impressive to not have a 3-game winning streak since mid-November for the rest of the season. Even the worst of teams can kind of stumble their way into 3-game winning streak, not this team. So now it's Rangers at the Sharks. You're playing a team that, granted, has been better lately. I will say that. They've actually been playing some decent hockey, but it is the number 32 team in the league. And the Rangers have already lost to the number 32 team in the league when they were that, right? Chicago, Nashville, to name a few. I think those are maybe the only two. And so you can add San Jose to the list potentially. San Jose kind of unequivocally on the whole, not lately, Certainly not lately. I'd say Chicago probably has been the worst team of late. But San Jose, on the whole season, has the worst goal differential, the worst point percentage, really, really bad at home, 12, 22, and 2. Um, but with this Ranger team, you could see them losing this game. You really, really could. And you certainly, like the Rangers, if they're ever going to win and get points, it ain't going to be easy. So it's just highly, highly frustrating. This one is up there for me where it's like you feel almost foolish as a fan, kind of watching this team and hoping they win, hoping they make the playoffs. It's like you feel kind of dumb a little bit. But this is where we are. And, I think, in some ways it's like you're looking forward to the season being over, but there's more to come, right? For better or worse, like with all these mediocre teams in the mix, the Rangers are going to find themselves still being in it towards the end of the season. I've almost kind of began to believe that based on what it's been. So 34, 32, and 7, a record that is not requisite of a playoff team, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. So a very disappointing, blown game, a 2-goal lead gone, and the Rangers lose in overtime to the Anaheim Ducks by a score of 5-4, and a quick turnaround, back-to-back, as they will head to San Jose to take on the Sharks and end their West Coast trip.